Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll show you how to make some really simple urban ash-covered bases perfect for Warhammer the Horus Heresy. In this video you'll see how I made these urban ash-covered bases for my Horus Heresy army. As I've gone for a black theme with my models, I thought it would be good to have a nice bright base to contrast that. So I've gone for this ash-covered theme, and I think that fits in with a lot of the Horus Heresy battlefields I've seen so far. I'll be using this Contemptor Dreadnought from the Age of Darkness Horus Heresy box set, and I'm making a Dark Angels army for Horus Heresy, but I'll also be using them as a Fallen Chaos army in Warhammer 40k, so I wanted something that would work in both settings. A lot of the Horus Heresy armies have got a dark theme, so hopefully this is going to help you out and get your army ready for battle nice and quick. The first thing I did was prepare all the little parts I needed for the base. So I took this piece, a spare bit from the Spartan from the Age of Darkness box set, and I just cut it up, put some grooves in there, snipped some little bits off, and then twisted it round so it looked like some kind of wreckage from a destroyed vehicle. So that's the first part. Then I got a little coffee stirrer and I just cut that into little planks and went for all different thicknesses, some nice and thin, some thicker than others, and just simply snipped them off. Not trying to make it neat here, you want all those little frayed edges, that's all going to add to the texture and the effect. To represent rocks and rubble, I've just got this cork mat, and I'm just going to pick off bits, again just nice and random, all different sizes, and these are going to be dotted around on the base just to give the idea of different bricks and stonework. And then of course we've got to have some skulls for our Warhammer bases. I'll be fixing these to the base with some super glue. I'm going to use Gorilla super glue, but anything's going to work. I find the gel ones or the thicker ones a lot better and not so messy. Then I'll be just covering them with a base paint of Mechanica Standard Grey to seal them in. You could also prime them with the spray if you like. And then I'm going to be using this Vallejo ground texture rough grey pumice, and that's going to be the texture that will fill in all the gaps on the base. Originally I was just going to use that pumice with a skull or two and then dry brush that up, but I felt it was a little bit boring, so I wanted to make a little bit more effort, so I went for the idea of just putting some rubble in there. And I like the idea of the scorched earth and having that ash all over the battlefield. So I'll show you how I accomplish that with a couple of models, but I'll mostly be using the Contemptor Dreadnought throughout the video. Now we've got all the preparation done, it's time to put it onto the base. So I just put some super glue there, grab the pieces I want from the biggest bits first. I'm going to work down to the smallest. So I'll start with these, just get them roughly in place, and then let that super glue do the work. And then just position all the pieces, maybe some on top of the others, changing the angles to make it interesting, adding the skulls in little gaps where you think a skull would naturally roll into. And then it's just a case of finding gaps where you think it looks right for all the different parts and just gluing them all in place. Now we've got these biggest parts done now, so it's time to move on and start putting all the bits of cork and little wooden planks and things like that. So I'll just put some random dots, again looking for gaps, trying to make it as random as I can, not thinking about it too much. And then I'm going to pop in a few of these chunky bits of cork to represent the stonework and bricks. And then do the same with all the little wooden pieces, so just put some strips, some again overlapping each other, some on top of the rubble, some underneath it, just mixing it up, making it look as random and as natural as you can. I made up a cup with lots of cork and bits of stick and got all my skulls ready because I'm going to be doing all the bases at the same time here, and that's going to save a load of time doing it in one big batch. Not putting quite so much on these smaller models though. And once that glued set, it's time to prime all these pieces we've glued on. So I'm just going to use a brush here for this one and cover it all. But when I did the whole batch, I used my airbrush just to save a bit of time. Now I would ideally have done this before I primed the whole model, but because I changed my mind and wanted to do something a bit different with the bases later on. So I would recommend, if you're going to do something like this, to get it to this stage here before you prime your model. So assemble your model, glue all this on the base and then prime it all in one go. Now I've glued all these bits and pieces on all the bases and I've primed them, it's time to get on and add that pumice and start filling in the gaps. Here's the rough grey pumice from Vallejo, great stuff, and I'll use this texture tool from Citadel to apply it to the model. All you need to do for this is scoop a little bit out of the pot and then just pop it on the base and then just move it around, filling it in the gaps. And I'm not trying to be perfect here at all. It's got to be messy. It's got to be natural. I want some of that rubble buried, some sticking out. And so, yeah, really just fill in those gaps until it's completely covered. I like to use the edge of the base to get some of that off, and then once I've got it in place I can move it around a lot easier then. Just be careful not to get it onto the model itself, and then just move that around, squeeze it in. You've got plenty of time. This doesn't set really quickly. In fact, if you put it on thick, you've got to leave it about 24 hours. So yeah, you can take your time with this stage. And there we go, I've covered all the models now, and then I just rub my finger or thumb or a little cloth around the rim of the base just to tidy that up and clean it, because you don't want any of that to set firm on the outside because that'll affect the look. And there's one of the smaller models ready to go as well. It's been almost 24 hours now, so this stuff is set nice and solid, and now I'm going to give it a coat of Nuln Oil. And you can see I've finished painting the model actually, so that's done now. I did that while I was waiting for that base to firmly set. But here's the shade Nuln Oil. We'll put a nice coat of that all over the entire base. So I'm going to go over everything I covered with the pumice and all those little bits and pieces that we glued and primed on as well. I'd be quite generous with this. Again, you don't need to be perfect. It's messy. Get it in there. But you will need quite a lot because there's a lot of surface area here to cover. Once the Nuln Oil is dry, it's time for some dry brushing. And this is going to be the final stage. So it's really easy. There's not many stages involved in this. And you can see it's quite dark now, so we're going to brighten it up with some base Corax white. And I'll just use my Citadel dry medium brush here for that. And again, I did all the models at the same time with the same brush and the same technique. So here's the smaller model, and you can see that white really contrasts well against the black paintwork of the model. To dry brush, I'm going to take some of the paint on my brush, not too much, just dip the end in like that, and then work it into some kitchen towel. You can use a piece of cardboard if you want to, and for the first time you'll need to really work it into those bristles to get it nice and coated. And I'm not going super dry on this. There's quite a bit of paint left on there because I want quite a lot of it to come off. So it is dry brushing, but it's not quite over brushing. But you can see I'm being quite heavy and a lot is coming off. Now this white is really going to brighten it up too, and this is going to give the effect that this earth has maybe been bombed, completely burnt, and now all the troops are moving in for the kill on whatever remains on the battlefield. The Nuln Oil is really going to give us the depth to this and give all those shadows, and then this white over the top is really going to give that idea that the ash has settled over everything. And so I'm going quite heavy, especially on the skulls, because you want all the texture from the skulls and those little pieces of broken machinery and exploded vehicles. I want to catch all that, and that's going to give this all the interesting look to the model. So go quite heavy on those sections and go all over the base until you get to this stage, and this is it. This is all we're going to do to the base itself, except for the final part, which will be to go around the rim in black and just tidy up the edge. I'll be using a base paint, Abaddon Black, and I'm going to give it one nice coat. You might want to water it down a little bit and give it 2 coats, just see, depends how heavy you've gone on the rim with that dry brushing and how much you need to cover up. But usually one nice generous coat of this is going to do the job. And once it's dried, you're going to get something that looks like this. And I'm really happy how it turned out. Really quick and easy to do. Did all of these at the same time, so I've got all my models based now. Doesn't take long at all when you do it in that batch method. It was good to go a little bit heavier on those textured pieces and the skulls and all the bits of machinery, and that really brings them out, but still giving that idea that they've got that film of ash covering them after the battlefield has been completely scorched. I'll be uploading a video soon about how I paint all my models. I've used the same method for the Contemptor Dreadnought, the Tactical Marines, the Terminators, and even the Spartan tank. So I'll be doing that very soon, so look out for that. Probably tomorrow, that'll be up on the channel. I think this style of base will work great with the Dark Angels army, Iron Warriors, Raven Guard, or any dark coloured armour you're going for. But there we go. I hope you found the video helpful and hope it gave you some ideas about how you might like to create some quick, easy bases for your Horus Heresy models. If you haven't ordered the box set yet but would like to get your hands on one, I'll put some links in the description below where you can save up to 20% with Element Games and Wayland Games. There'll be affiliate links, don't cost you anything extra, you save that 20% and also help support the channel as I get a small commission for every sale made. So thanks so much if you decide to take a look at those products. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I also hope you had a great time building your box set and getting them ready for battle if you picked one up already. So thanks again. Please hit the like button if you liked the video, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make these daily videos possible, and if you're interested in joining the community, it'd be awesome to see you there, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below.